Yo, call me a Glock 98 the way your husband I sabate. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Cage. Today, and only today, we are here with our official 2025 Sonic in review. I figured that now, it's the end of the year. We had a long year with Sonic, and I always do this thing where I sort of reflect on what happened with the franchise this year, go over all the major news, and just kind of talk about how I felt about the series this year. Of course, this will always, as usual, be followed up by a sequel video where we discuss what is coming next for the franchise. But until then, sit down, subscribe to your boy, support the content, and let's get right into this. Alright, so 2025 for Sonic. This was an interesting year, right? This is the first year in a while, actually, that we didn't have a quote-unquote mainline release, right? Because last year, even though Sonic Gens was a remaster, Shadow Gens was effectively a mainline game, right? Year before, we had Superstars, which, 2D games are still technically mainline. And then, obviously, year before that, we had Sonic Frontier. So this was sort of our first buffer year for this series, and kind of seeing how its wings spread without having a main release during the year was pretty interesting. Let's start with the campaign that they went with this year. This year's Sonic campaign was racing around the world, right? So if you go on like the website for it, this, I'm not gonna lie to you, is not a great campaign. Like, this was kind of like, if you like racing stuff, you ate. Like, they did some collabs with McLaren, or there was some like go-karting events with Sonic, but it hit nowhere near the same as Year of Shadow. Right now, obviously this racing campaign was meant for Sonic Racing Crossroads, but I don't know, Year of Shadow felt like the name of the campaign was really hammered in with like different merchandise with Shadow, animated shorts with Shadow, right? Like Shadow Dark Beginnings, movie 3. Like, it felt like the campaign was way more honed in. Now, granted, it can't always be that way, but I feel like just the campaign name implied we were going to get a lot of racing stuff maybe outside of Sonic 2. Now, they did technically do that. Like, they did a Rocket League collab where that had a vehicle, and they finally collabed with Fortnite, and I guess that kind of got a vehicle, but it's like, it's so, stretching, it's just, as a marketing campaign, it wasn't necessarily the greatest, but again, I understand that this year wasn't the most packed for them. To start off the year, we have to talk about Sonic Movie 3, because Sonic Movie 3 came out, you remember, last week of December, so it wasn't until early January 2025 this year that the movie wrapped up its box office, and man, it really was a success. It neared its end finale at about 490 million at the box office worldwide. Critical acclaim, like to this day, I think on Rotten Tomatoes, it's still like the highest video game reviewed movie on there, right? So it did incredibly well reception wise. It did incredibly well for the fans, and I really do feel like the movie pushed the series forward more than people will ever realize. I think it's one of those movies that I really do feel like, one was great, elevated the series. 2 really stepped things up, and then 3 just felt like this was the one that exploded. And obviously the popularity of Shadow and all this stuff. But yeah, that was the start of the year, and that kind of set the tone for what would be, a really great 2025 for the series in terms of people's interest in the series. And for the movies, we didn't end up getting too much stuff this year, because obviously, like I said, movie 3 was wrapping its theatrical production. We did have the digital release that came with some goodies. We did have some behind the scenes look where we saw some extra concept art for the future potential movies, right? And the speculation of what's to come. We got the confirmation that Sonic Movie 4 is going to take place March 2027. So we've got now about a year and 2 months until the next movie, so that's not too bad in terms of wait time. That probably means by next year, around this point, we will have had a main trailer for movie 4, and we got the confirmation that a new movie is happening the following year in 2028 as a event film. So yeah, in terms of the Sonic movie verse, things are going super well. We don't have anything new in terms of casting, potential casting for Amy, what's going on with Metal. We don't even know what's happening with Jim Carrey, but regardless, I think starting the year off with a banger finale of Sonic Movie 3's box office run was really important. I do wish that crossed that 500 million, just so we had that point of reference, but I do think combined now in the box office, it's like 800 to 1 billion. So it's a major franchise for Paramount. They've said that, and they're going to keep investing in it, so that's great. And of course, we can't make a video talking about Sonic's 2025 without talking about the big one, and that's right, Sonic mobile collabs. Yeah, you thought I was going to go to Crossroads right away. No, I didn't want to say it is interesting to continually see Sonic on mobile be a really important part for Sega that people don't realize. Like, for example, Sonic Dream Team this year continued to get updates. It got new costumes, it got the shadow levels, right? And it just keeps just getting random updates to the game, and which is funny because it's a game that's still locked to Apple Arcade that people really love. And man, like, it's a damn shame this game isn't available on all platforms. I get it, it exists because of Apple, it was funded by Apple, but I just do hope that that chain breaks one day, because we've seen a few games break the chain. Like, I know Hello Kitty Island Adventure started on Apple Arcade. I know that TMNT game that just dropped on Switch 2 was an Apple Arcade exclusive. So we've seen games escape the Apple Arcade vault eventually, and I hope at some point Sonic Dream Team goes to that, because it really is a really well made, fun game, and just seeing it get updates, you could get even like S ranks now, figures, all this stuff, has been really cool to see. And of course, the other massive mobile game, or game in general, Sonic Rumble, right? Sonic Rumble is a game that all year kind of suffered from this meme and joke that like it kept getting delayed, whereas the official release, it kept getting pre-season 3 and 4 content for people in other regions. So it was a little bit of a bad marketing run for Sonic Rumble, right? I do think when all is said and done, the game's still doing pretty well. In fact, just today, as I'm recording this video, they just announced a collab with Godzilla, which is showing that they've still got some big stuff planned with them. When I interviewed the team, not even this year, last year, they were telling me how they really wanted to work with third-party companies, get some cool collabs in there. And so, yeah, I think Sonic Rumble didn't have the greatest year in terms of marketing, but it finally ended up coming out, early November, late October, finally to the world. And I think it was a game. You know, it's a fun game to jump into. I don't think it really stuck around too much with Sonic. And I think a big reason for that is probably, one, it's mobile, and it is on PC, which is cool. But I think, like, Sonic fans got their multiplayer Sonic game fixed with Crossroads. Roblox Speed Simulator continues to get updates on mobile and whatever other platforms Roblox is on. Sonic Forces Speed Battle. This is fucking so funny, bro. I am shocked that they never rebranded this game from Sonic Forces Speed Battle to just like Sonic Speed Battle, because this game is like under the Forces label, but it continues to get like some of the coolest character costumes we've ever seen in the series. Like, there's like Halloween skins for the characters, there's pop star skins for the characters, like there's samurai skins, like there's all this cool shit that these characters are getting. And they're all locked behind this fucking mobile game. And I wish, they would either give those assets to the Crossroads team or something. But it's cool to see that game keeps getting updates. In fact, Sonic Dash, like the original old-ass game Sonic Dash, is still also getting updates. And we had the soft launch in certain regions for the game Sonic Blitz. Sonic Blitz is like a 3-sided card game that we don't even know if it's ever coming to the West. But regardless, like, it's pretty impressive and cool to see that Sonic on mobile is still a major force and important part of Sega's rollout of Sonic. Sega bought Rovio, which is clear that that's why they were investing so much in mobile. But yeah, I figured that was an important part to at least talk about. But of course, yeah, we cannot go in a video like this without talking about the Sonic release of this year, and that was Sonic Racing Crossroads. It's funny, going into the year, we really didn't know much about this game. We just had the Game Awards teaser, and then boom, State of Play happens in February this year. Continuing, by the way, this confirmation that Sonic and PlayStation clearly have some kind of marketing deal, because now Sonic games consistently are appearing in State of Plays and no longer Nintendo Directs at all, nor Xbox conferences. So they've got some kind of deal with PlayStation, which, to be fair, I think is better branding for Sonic. I know a lot of people like Sonic games on Nintendo, but I do think that like premium feel for casual gamers, whatever that means, works a lot better for Sonic to be taken more quote-unquote seriously, you know what I mean? But Sonic Racing Crossroads, I mean, what a marketing run this game had, and what a year this game had, right? This is what I'm talking about, where I say, like, this is a game that showed that, you don't need a mainline release to have something exciting for Sonic, because this is the first time I've ever seen Sega give a mainline marketing to a spin-off. I mean, this game got everything, right? Like, we got the main reveal of the game, which looked great with the Crossroads, with the introduction of extreme gear in the trailer, right? Boom, that was already crazy, followed by a beta that happened like a few weeks later that everybody was happy about, but, you know, shared their feedback and issues with. Then at Summer Games Fest, it had the announcement that, boom, this isn't just Sonic Racing, this is a crossover game, right? We got the confirmation of Miku, Joker, and Ichiban, right? And then you had that like website that showed like, oh, there's going to be 10 other free characters to the game, as well as a season pass to the game. So you already, like, before the game was even out, knew this conceived notion that they believed in it. And we're about to push more stuff in it, right? We had the animation, which, oh my God, was fucking awesome. The Sonic, the shadow glazing animation that looked incredible, that like absolutely cooked. I absolutely love that. They did a Twitch Rivals, which I was part of, which was awesome. They had preview events at Gamescom, right? They had preview events all year long for the game, right? You obviously had collabs with Minecraft that was announced for the game. We had the collab with Pac-Man announced for the game, Mega Man. They obviously have a deal with Nickelodeon, obviously because of the Paramount, you know, work, which, you know, some people were iffy on the fact that like Paramount or Nickelodeon is getting 3 collabs with SpongeBob, TMNT, and Avatar. But hey, Avatar, TMNT, and SpongeBob are cool IPs, so I'm not too mad. We had obviously the opening of the game, that job that, you know, caused the stir with the song "It's Sonic Racing," and people were worried about the music direction, which I don't think people have to worry. In fact, people were worried about the soundtrack of the game in general pre-launch, because I think some of the betas or network tests that they were having sort of like had like MIDI versions of some of the soundtracks or lesser versions of the soundtrack. But, you know, mainline game came out, soundtracks were fire. But yeah, like this game, just everything about it just felt like they were taking it mainline. You know, they were doing song drops. They did a whole series called Crosstalk, where every other week or so they were getting, you know, Jet or Wave or Sonic and Tails to talk about the different characters in the game, the different vehicles, the different tracks. Like, they really pushed this game like it was a main release. And boom, the game came out, and critical darling, like it got 80s for a Sonic racing game in a year where Mario Kart was out. You know, we had fans all over the world. I couldn't believe this was happening. We've had fans to this day arguing about if they like Sonic racing more than Mario Kart. Like, a lot of people think it's way better. You know, people, the fact that we live in a world where people think a Sonic racing game got snubbed by Mario Kart is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane to me, that we live in a timeline where a Sonic racing game can compete with Mario Kart. But again, there was something about Sonic racing that really just made people happy. The arcadey feel of it, the gadgets, the crossover characters, like the snappy gameplay, the good online. Right now we have this legend competition that's driving people insane, but is so addicting. And the reason people keep playing this game is because they put something in it. I think that's the best compliment you can give a game, is when it has that, like, that crack in it. It has that little sauce that makes you go, one more game. But what if I rank up a little bit more? What if I play a little bit more? Oh, I'll have soon enough tickets to buy this. Like, it just, the game just did super well, had a great amount of content. And what's cool about the game is it's not afraid to say that, hey, you're getting content all year long, right? We had the launch of characters like Minecraft. We've already had the launch of, we're getting the launch of Knights soon. We had SpongeBob content in the game. Like, we just got the confirmation in a state of play from Japan that II is coming, Knights is coming, right? We're getting Tangle and Whisper. Like, this is some really cool shit that we're continuing to see. And I hope that going into next year, we see a lot more tracks. But I just gotta say, like, shout out to Sonic and Sega for, taking a break here on a mainline game, but making sure that this spin-off game was like a massive success. We found out that the game sold about 1 million copies around the first week. I hope the game is doing even better now. I hope we see it go up to 2 to 3 million, because it is selling still super well. Like, if you look on like Amazon's best-selling games, it's consistently up there. In November, like 2 months after launch, it was still number 13 on NPD. It did well in October. So the game is still consistently selling, and it being multi-platform and cross-play is pretty massive. It just got a Switch 2 edition drop, so really happy about everything with that game. Oh yeah, and we mentioned the Switch 2 a little bit. Sonic didn't do too much on Switch 2. Sonic X Shadow Generations launched on Switch 2 with a controversial, actually, conversation where, you know, it was, instead of getting a $10 upgrade, you had to like just rebuy the game, which like sucked. I hated that. And then they rectified that with Sonic Racing Crossroads, where if you owned the Switch 1 version of the game, you could just get the upgrade for like $10. Like, that's how it should be. And I feel like they heard that feedback loud and clear. But I do wish like Sonic Frontiers would get an update on Switch 2. I wish there was a lot more Switch 2 updates for Sonic game. But yeah, Sonic didn't do too much on Switch 2 this year. But the fact that, you know, they're getting Switch 2 editions means Sega's still paying attention to the platform. This year's animated series for Sonic was Chow Tales, right? And yeah, I mean, I've talked about this series before. This is the most I've not cared about a Sonic animated series. Like, you know, I think for me, and I've said this before, like, Sonic obviously is a franchise for kids and adults and teenagers and whoever wants to consume it. It's an E for everyone series, right? But, you know, when like the last year we got a series like Shadow, Dark Beginnings, and even like the Sonic animated opening that they did for Sonic Racing Crossroads, right? Or, you know, the stuff that they done when they do something like Chow Tales, where it's like really just for like kids, I'm always like, okay, I mean, it's cool. It's not for me. It wasn't the animated special I would have liked to see. They did, I think, like 6 episodes of it, you know, and they did a Halloween special, but I'm like, hey, it's cool. Maybe one day the Chow will show up someday. Of course, a massive project that kicked off this year was Sonic X DC, right? Throughout the year, early in the year, I was doing monthly reviews of each chapter that was coming out, and I gotta say, this was fucking awesome. I mean, it is still cool that this Sonic DC collab exists, right? That you have Silver as Green Lantern, Sonic as the Flash, you know, Batman Shadow, like all these team-ups that they've had, and the comic run was so fucking good. In fact, I think some of my comic friends were telling me that they did sell really well, and we do have confirmation that this is a 2-year-long project. So I think based on, you know, the spoilers for the end of the first comic run, Eggman and Lex Luthor meet up, so they're clearly going to be plotting something for a future plot. But yeah, I gotta say the comic run was super good. It started having some toys, and it started the speculation that we were gonna get a lot more stuff with the project, maybe an animated series. That would be awesome. That's like the end goal. If we somehow get like an animated series or franchise for this, I would love that. No question. That'd be the coolest thing ever. But yeah, like I said, the comic run was really well received. It was super fun. And I hope they do more, you know. I figured we'd go over some of the major news of the year, because again, there wasn't like too much in terms of major year. Number one, Sonic sales overall are up at Sega. If you looked at their Sega financials throughout the year, we saw that Sonic Team was just getting a budget increase. The Sonic series continues to be Sega's top seller. Like, we're just seeing the franchise go up completely for Sega. You know, in fact, we had the new CEO of Sega have a big interview saying, we're like, hey, we want Sega to be rock and roll, whereas Nintendo is like, you know, sweet jazz, which is really nice. So we're seeing Sega just understand a little bit more of taking time with the series. You know, we even had Iizuka in interviews saying, hey, I don't want to just do remasters nor remakes. In fact, I think Iizuka this year shattered a lot of dreams. He deconfirmed Sonic Adventure remakes, which have been like rumored and wanted for a long time. He kind of just said that, like, hey, if I were to do adventure remakes, it would take the same amount of time it would take me to make a new game. And at this point, I'd rather just make some new shit, which I think is valid because we are still in the beginning of getting cool new shit. I mean, we only have Sonic Frontiers and Shadow Gens as like a side thing, you know? So I understand where Iizuka's coming from in terms of wanting to spread his wings open. We had that like news drop where they were getting an upgrade on their animation team. Like the 3D animation team was going to get upgrades. We saw those like animations from Sonic Gens that they were testing where like Sonic has a little more like bouncing and movement. So that was also like a really cool day on Twitter to be there. We had the massive leak, quote unquote, that Sonic Mania 2 was prototyped, right? We had T-Lobes drop a song for it on Twitter, but we also had, you know, Christian Wyatt say like, hey, yeah, there was a prototype for Sonic Mania 2, and we got like the few screenshots of it looking like a bit like of a hand-drawn art style, you know, and yeah, they just said that it never went through. You know, some people think like, oh, we don't know the story, but we pretty much have the story of what happened with Sonic Mania 2. It was just very clear that, you know, it did decently well, but I think both teams had different visions. I think Sonic Team wanted to, you know, make a regular main game that would appeal to the public. In fact, I think My thing is just like, I just don't think sprites sadly sell well. You know what I mean? I just like, that's what Sega seemed to imply with Superstars, is they wanted an art style that appealed and didn't look like it was an old game, quote unquote, even though obviously we love, I'm speaking on behalf of all of us here, but you know, we love good sprite work, but you know, it's one of those things where like, it is what it is, right? But I wish we had gotten a Mania 2, but seeing that prototype was like a mind-blowing day on Twitter. We finally got our look at Professor Tori, this mystery character finally revealed, hopefully to still be available in one of the mainline games. Is that an official Sonic game timeline that they dropped like randomly, which caused the stir? But yeah, overall, like not too much on the major Sonic news announcement. And an important thing that happened this year that people don't really talk about is collabs, right? Sonic had so many collabs this year and is continuing to show that like, oh, like this series is being pushed forward, right? We got, for example, the Sonic level in Pac-Man World Repack, right, which was awesome. We got Sonic collab with Squad Busters, which is like a major mobile game, right? We had more Sonic content in Minecraft, right? We got Rocket League X Sonic, which is still a big deal. We had Fortnite, where even though Fortnite wasn't exactly what we wanted for all these years, it finally happened, right? We had, you know, more clothes branding stuff. We had Puma X Sonic, right? We had Sonic and Topgolf. We had Sonic and Magic the Gathering, right? And while these things aren't like the coolest thing in the world, I understand, this stuff is important, right? This is stuff that is cool to mainstream people that, you know, a lot of casuals like, and we're starting to see Sonic enter these dope ass spaces. You know, we talked a little bit about it earlier with Sonic X DC. It's just, for me, like when I see stuff like this, I just get happy because I'm like, damn, bro, more people know about this franchise, more it sells, more we get games, more we get higher quality. This is also a pretty cool year for Sonic fan projects. You know, we had some great stuff, like more demos for like Sonic Galactic, right? We had Sonic Rush Re-Rush, which is like a 2D, like a project that's aiming to bring Sonic Rush levels back, you know, on a widescreen front. We had Sonic in the Moon Facility. They finally just dropped it, even though it wasn't like fully done. They were like, hey, here, have it. We had some crazy Sonic sprite battles. I hosted a Sonic AMV contest. There's a group of people making Sonic Frontiers Revisited, or like where it looks incredibly insane, you know, and they have these crazy big versions of the original islands, right? There was a whole movement for Silver the Hedgehog that happened all over social media, took over social media. People were making fan art and cool ideas of what could happen for Silver. So it's cool to see the fans are still kicking, but of course we cannot go in one of these videos, you know. By the way, I want to give a big shout out to Sonic and the Secret Rings remake, which is pretty much almost done. I cannot believe what that team has done. Good for them, and thank you to every fan project that's happened. Please suggest some in the comment section below if there's something I've missed that was really cool. But of course we cannot go this year without talking about the, I would still argue for Sonic fans, this is probably still the coolest thing that happened this year, and that was Sonic Unleashed Recompiled. You know, Sonic fans took it to themselves to do something that basically wasn't done and natively port an Xbox 360 game to PC. This was a massive deal, not because, you know, no games were doing that for Xbox 360, but Sonic Unleashed was basically officially available on PC. Like, this had its own graphic options, and I'm telling you, you could go crazy with the graphics. You could put this at 240 hertz, you could make it 4K, 8K on your monitor. If it supported it, you could get these crazy FPS caps. You could do modding to the game. Like, this was unbelievable when it dropped, and I still think it is the most attractive thing that happened in the series this year, right? Like, I feel like this got a lot more people to play Unleashed. There were finally ways to smooth out, you know, the metal progression. Like, this was insane, right? For years, fans have tried to put Unleashed in like Sonic Generations, right? Or port those levels in somehow, right? But to finally have a native way to play Sonic Unleashed on PC is still unbelievable. Like, it's so good. You can like put all the DLC in there. Obviously, you have a bunch of mods. Like, it's crazy. Like, I to this day cannot believe what they were able to do with that project. And obviously, you know, it took the fans by storm this year, and like, as it should. Like, they should be proud that they were able to do something like that. So Shout out to Sonic Unleashed Recompiled. If you've never checked that out, please consider it. I mean, and they even optimized it so well that you could like run it on a potato and lower the graphics settings like crazy. So I cannot believe they were able to do it. In fact, I think Sonic 06 even got decompiled. It's not as impressive to people because it's Sonic 06, but they're working on that, you know. And obviously we have a project like Sonic 06, Project 06, which is a whole other thing. They're still working on that, chipping away at it, finishing the bosses for that. But damn, man, it's so cool to see Sonic fans still making passionate, cool shit. Now, funny enough, it's time to talk about what wasn't here this year. No Sonic Central. No Sonic Central this year. First time since, I think, 2021. I think this is like, I think we've got them pretty much every year for the last 3 to 4 years. And they didn't do one this year. A lot of people kept speculating, including myself, because it just felt like they would do them. But I'm almost wondering if they don't want to just do them just to do them anymore, because we've seen Sonic Essentials. They're not the greatest things. A lot of them feel very merch heavy, right? Where it's like, here's merch, and then maybe you get like one thing for like a main game, right? And so yeah, we spent all this speculating, but we didn't get one. I hope next year they make like an early year one. But I think they are understanding that maybe they want to make them more substantial. You know, I think they want them to be more game oriented instead of just, here's Lego, here's a t-shirt collab, here's Lego, you know. And then like, I think they want them, because even like the one more thing of the last one was like, hey, we're working on movie 3, smile emoji, right? Or even when they spent a time on Sonic DC, they're like, yeah, we're working on this, cool, here's PNGs, you know. So I think, you know, there was only one notable thing in last year's, and it was the Shadow Gens story trailer. But I'm wondering if they want to just make those a little bit better. But regardless, no Central this year. Another thing is there was no Sonic Takeover. There was no Twitter takeover this year for Sonic, which a lot of people were weirded out by, because apparently TSR had one in 2019. I forgot about that. And pretty much every main game has gotten a, Twitter takeover, but they didn't do one this year. There was also no new game announcement. No next mainline game announcement. Like I said, we're gonna do a video talk about 2026, but I think this surprised a lot of people, because going into the Game Awards, a lot of people were expecting a mainline game reveal. Even before that, like thinking maybe there would have been a reveal in November or something. But I think, Sega and Sonic Team wants to cook, show a trailer where maybe they can show some gameplay with it, so that it's not, just whatever. But yeah, there was no new mainline game announced. Next year, we are going into next year with the most emoji of all time for the 35th anniversary, but I'm sure they're going to cook something and we'll talk about it. And another thing we didn't get, Game Award wins. We didn't win any of the Game Awards, but we did get nominated for stuff, right? Sonic Racing Crossroads was nominated, and Sonic Rumble was nominated, funny enough. But yeah, obviously, overall, this year was the year of Sonic Racing Crossroads. And I think for me, like, this was a very fun year to cover, because one, I had to, talk about different things, because there wasn't like a mainline game to always speculate and all that. It's very different covering a racing game, right? Because with a racing game, you're just kind of talking about the tracks that are in the game. You're talking about what speculating what characters might be added, but it's not the same as like debating, like speculating the story and what might be revealed and like analyzing the levels. Like, it's very different on a like creator's side. But I just really loved how much they cared about Sonic Racing Crossroads. Like, this is a game that I see on my timeline constantly, and I just think my biggest thing is I keep thinking, wow, man, going from Team Sonic Racing, which was like a wet fart for a week, that no one even was online on launch. If you went to the online servers on day one of that game, it was basically dead, to this game where like it's full constantly with servers and full people and crossplay and events every other week. Like, and like I said, the marketing campaign all year, it really did feel like we were getting a mainline release all year, right? And so overall, if I were to score the year, I think it was a good year. I think this is the buffer year we were talking about for a while, where Sonic needed a year to chill out a bit, and I think Sonic Racing Crossroads was the chill game. It was a game that like people really, really like, right? And it's a great game, people love it, but it's obviously not the main meal, and people are wondering where the main meal is, and it's cooking, right? But I think this was the year that showed that like, hey, not every year is gonna be big mainline thing, right? But there's always gonna be something, right? There's always gonna be something, and we're starting to get to that point where like we're constantly expecting quality. Like, now we're even in the territory where like this game reviewed super well. Like I think it got like an 82 or 83 on Metacritic. Sonic X Shadow Gen scored over 80 on Metacritic. You know, Superstars and Sonic Frontiers were in the 70s, and so like those two are before, and the last two products are 80 plus, and I think they want to aim for that big high. But overall, I think it was a good year for Sonic. It wasn't, like I said, the most exciting, crazy thing, but it was cool seeing the collabs. It was cool seeing what would be next. It was cool seeing the random stuff. Like, I don't know. I had a great time this year. Let me know, of course, what you guys thought in the comment section below of Sonic in 2025. And of course, yes, I will probably be doing a video with Sam about what is coming next in 2026 for Sonic. But overall, thank you all for watching. Let me know how you felt about this year. Was Sonic Racing your best thing for you? Was Sonic Movie 3 technically still the best thing for you? Even though, like, you know, technically that was last year. Don't count that. But tell me, what was your favorite news? What was your favorite game? What was your favorite announcement? What was your favorite thing from this year that I missed or maybe didn't talk about? I love you guys. Thank you all for watching. You're the best. And of course, I will see you all next time. Peace out.